What happens when a CEO who built his company from scratch goes undercover and finds a worker asleep in the back room after closing? Elijah Porter stood outside the smallest of his 5 cafe locations, wearing a worn-out hoodie, fake glasses, and a baseball cap pulled low. He hadn't been to this store in over 3 years, not since it opened. A lot had changed. The company had grown fast. Too fast. He started with one cafe in a strip mall, grinding 16 hours a day, doing everything from mopping floors to roasting beans. Now he had 5 locations. And lately things fell off. Online reviews for the store were dipping. He'd gotten a few vague complaints: long wait times, cold service, bad vibes. Nothing specific. His district manager, Matt, just brushed it off as a young crew still learning. But Elijah trusted his gut. Something wasn't right. So, for the first time in years, he decided to go undercover. The staff wouldn't recognize him. Most had never met him. It was a corporate-run chain now, with HR handling hiring and training. Even his name wasn't on the walls anymore. He'd be Eli, the new guy training for part-time evening shifts. His first shift started at 4 p.m. "Hey, you must be the new guy," a short woman with a tired smile said as he walked through the back door. "I'm Candace." "Yeah, Eli," he said, keeping his voice a little lower than usual. She nodded. "All right. Let's get you a name tag and apron." Candace Harper was the assistant manager. She moved fast, giving short, clipped instructions while checking the espresso machine with one hand and wiping a counter with the other. She seemed sharp, but there was something heavy in her eyes, like she hadn't slept right in weeks. The store was short-staffed. Only 3 people were on the evening roster: Candace, a high schooler named Ryan working the register, and another barista named Lexi, who looked barely 18. "Where's the store manager?" Elijah asked between wiping down tables. Candace glanced up. "Gone for the day. She leaves at 3. We usually hold down the fort. Every night." "Yeah." By 6, the line was out the door. Elijah was thrown right into it, washing dishes, restocking cups, helping Lexi pull shots. At one point, he caught Ryan taking a deep breath near the fridge, hands shaking. "You good?" Elijah asked. Ryan gave a small nod. "Just tired, man. I've been here since open." "What? Why?" Someone called out. Again. The store was clearly stretched thin. Elijah asked Candace how often this happened. She sighed. "Almost every other day." "Why doesn't anyone get hired?" "We try. But the manager's real picky. And Matt, the district guy, says we gotta keep labor low." Elijah chewed on that. Low labor meant higher profits. But at what cost? At 10 p.m., they flipped the sign to closed. The crew moved in sink mopping, cleaning machines, dumping trash. Elijah offered to do trash duty. When he got back, Lexi was gone. Ryan had already clocked out. Candace was still wiping down the pastry case. Her hands moved slower now. "You okay?" Elijah asked. She nodded quietly, locking the front doors, then reaching for her bag. "You live far?" "No," she said. "Just a few blocks." He offered to walk her, but she waved him off. "I'm good."
"Good night, Eli."
He grabbed his hoodie and stepped outside. The air was cold, sharp. He paused. Something felt off. The back door was still cracked open. He frowned and walked around. Inside, the lights were dim. The store silent. Then he heard it, a soft inhale. He stepped toward the storage room. Candace was curled up on a flattened cardboard box, using a folded apron as a pillow. Still in uniform. Frozen in place, Elijah stared at her. She was asleep, right there in the back. Not napping.
"Out."
He didn't move. What the hell was going on? He backed out slowly, closed the door quietly, and walked to his car. He sat in the dark for a long time. She never went home. The next morning, Elijah sat in his car outside the same cafe, this time in plain clothes.
"No hoodie, no glasses."
Just Elijah Porter, owner and founder of Clover and Steam Coffee. He hadn't slept. He kept seeing her Candace curled up in the back, using company supplies for warmth. No manager should ever have to sleep in a break room. And no owner should ever be the last to know it's happening. He waited until the breakfast rush started to thin out before walking in. A tall, sharp-featured woman in her early 30s stood near the register, arms crossed, watching two junior baristas scramble to keep up. "You must be Elijah," she said, not smiling.
I'm Shanna.
"Store manager." He nodded, calm but unreadable. "Can we talk in the office?" She led him past the counter without a word. The office was cramped, mostly taken up by a desk cluttered with HR manuals and unopened mail. A stack of printed schedules sat in the corner, with half of them crossed out in pen. Elijah closed the door behind them. "You've been running this store for how long?" "Little over a year," she said, taking a seat. "We've hit our numbers every quarter." "I'm not here about numbers." She raised an eyebrow but didn't speak. "I was here last night," Elijah said. "Undercover. I worked a full shift." Her jaw tightened. "I saw a store running on fumes. One person pulled a double. Another looked ready to collapse. And someone slept in the back after closing." Shauna didn't flinch. "I didn't authorize anyone to stay here overnight." "That's not an answer." She folded her arms. "Look, we're short-staffed because half the applicants aren't reliable. I've had people no-show on their first day. I can't afford to hire every warm body." "Why are you the only manager who closes early?" "I'm salaried. I'm not required to work evening shifts." "And who said that?" "Matt." Elijah's eyes narrowed. "He told you to leave the store undermanned, night after night?" "He told me to keep labor tight and focus on peak hours." "I did what I was told." He stood up. "You're done here." Her arms dropped. "What?" "You heard me. You're not fit to lead this team. You've let it sink while you protected your own schedule. You can't be serious." "I've already called HR. You'll be paid through the end of the week." She stood too, voice sharper now. "You think you're saving the day by firing me? You'll be lucky if anyone steps up to cover that shift. I'll cover it myself if I have to." He opened the door and didn't wait for her to follow. Out front, the two baristas stopped mid-conversation as Shauna walked briskly past them and out the front door. Neither looked surprised. Elijah turned to the girl behind the counter. "Who's the shift lead today?" "That would have been Candace. She doesn't work mornings, though." "I know. What's your name?" "Jules." He offered a hand. "You're in charge until I say otherwise."
Keep the store running.
"I'll be in the back." By noon, Candace walked in through the back, still in the same shoes he saw her in last night. She froze when she saw him sitting at the break table. "Elijah." He nodded. "Have a seat." She looked down, then sat slowly. "You don't have to explain why you stayed. I already know." "I wasn't trying to hide it. I know. That's what makes it worse." She looked away. He leaned forward. "Why didn't you tell someone? Anyone?"
Her voice was low.
"I tried. HR said they'd look into it. That was 2 months ago." "What about Shauna?" "She knew. I told her I was couch surfing. She said as long as I showed up on time, it wasn't her problem." He closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. "That ends now. You're not alone in this anymore. I'm not asking for special treatment. You didn't. You showed up. You carried this place when no one else would. That's not special treatment. That's survival." She rubbed her hands together, still avoiding his eyes. "Why haven't you moved on to something better?" he asked. Candace gave a small, humorless laugh. "I was supposed to. I was saving up to get a place with my sister. But she moved out of state last month for work, and I couldn't keep up on my own." He stood and paced once, thinking. "You're not on the schedule tonight. Rest day." She nodded.
"Yeah."
"Then start fresh tomorrow." Come in at noon. But first I'm putting you up in a hotel for the next 2 weeks. After that, we'll figure something permanent. Her eyes snapped up. No arguments, he said. I won't have someone sleeping on cardboard in my cafe. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Just rest. That afternoon, he called the regional HR director and told her to meet him at the cafe the next morning. Then he called Matt. This is Elijah, he said when Matt picked up. I need you at the Harlow Street store by 8 a.m. tomorrow. Don't be late. Matt sounded groggy. What's going on? You'll find out when you get here. He hung up. That night, Elijah stayed through close. Jules stayed late. Ryan came in for his second shift of the day. Elijah worked the line with them, ran the dishwasher, swept the lobby. He didn't tell them who he was.
Not yet.
By 11, the lights were off, the chairs up, and the door was locked. Elijah leaned against the counter, exhausted. Jules turned to him. You're not bad at this. Thanks. You looking to move up? Maybe assistant manager? He laughed. Something like that. She grinned and waved goodnight. He waited until they were gone before locking the back door and turning off the last light. Then he sat in the dark for a moment. No one was sleeping here tonight. By the time Elijah arrived at the Harlow Street Café the next morning, the sun had barely risen. The front lights were still off. He unlocked the door himself and stepped into the quiet store. The air was heavy with the scent of stale coffee grounds and floor cleaner. He placed 2 chairs at the front counter and waited. At exactly 8, Matt pushed through the door wearing a pressed polo, his expression halfway between confusion and irritation. He froze when he saw Elijah sitting across from a woman in her early 40s wearing a gray blazer and carrying a leather folder. Matt cleared his throat. Didn't realize we were having a meeting. You could have looped me in yesterday. Elijah stood. This is Dana from HR Compliance. Sit down. Matt glanced at Dana, then reluctantly pulled out the chair across from them. You've been overseeing this store since it opened, right? Elijah asked. Matt nodded, arms crossed.
Yeah.
And it's been one of our best performing locations. Dana opened her folder, but didn't say anything yet. I worked here undercover 2 nights ago, Elijah said. What I saw didn't match the performance reports I've been getting from you. The store was understaffed. The night lead was pulling double shifts. And the manager you hired left the building every afternoon and never returned. Matt shifted in his seat. Staffing's been tight everywhere. It's not just this store. I've been doing what I can with the labor budget you approved. That's not what I asked. Did you know the manager wasn't staying through closing? We talked about her hours. She said she was focusing on mornings. I didn't think she was abandoning the team. She wasn't just leaving early. She was leaving the store with no managerial coverage almost every night. You didn't verify it. Matt leaned back. I trusted her judgment. She was hitting her targets. I figured she had it under control. Dana finally looked up. We pulled payroll data and schedule logs. She was logging out by 3 every day, just like your report said. But there are no evening shift leads signed off for close most nights. Matt hesitated. Then the assistants were probably handling it. There's only one, Elijah said. And she's been working 6-day weeks without backup. That's not delegation. That's neglect. Matt looked away, jaw tightening. Dana spoke again. There's also a file here from Candace Harper. She submitted a formal complaint about being overworked and not having managerial support. That was 63 days ago. You marked it as resolved. Matt blinked. I thought HR was handling those. You marked it resolved, Dana repeated. It never reached anyone else. Elijah's voice dropped. Did you even read it? Matt didn't respond. She was sleeping in the back of the store after closing, Elijah said. That's not a staffing issue. That's a failure in leadership. That's not on me, Matt snapped. If she wanted help, she should have escalated it. I can't chase down every sob story. You're done, Elijah said flatly. Matt stared at him. Excuse me? You're no longer with this company. You've violated multiple protocols, ignored an HR complaint, and failed to ensure basic oversight. We don't need an investigation. We need accountability. Dana slid a paper across the counter. You'll receive your final paycheck and benefits summary by mail. You'll be escorted off-site now. Matt stood slowly. You're making a mistake. No, Elijah said. I'm fixing one. Matt left without another word. Dana followed him out to ensure everything stayed clean. Elijah remained at the counter, watching the front door close behind them. Then he picked up his phone and texted Candace. 15 minutes later, she walked in wearing a plain sweatshirt and jeans. She looked rested but unsure. Did I come too early? She asked. You're right on time. Come sit. She sat at the same counter where Matt had been minutes earlier. I let him go, Elijah said. Effective immediately. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Seriously? Seriously. I should have caught this months ago, but I didn't. That's on me. She folded her hands. What happens now? I'm putting together an interim team to support this store starting with you. Her brow furrowed. Me? You know this location inside out. You've been running it without the title. I want you stepping in as acting manager while we rebuild. She hesitated. I've never managed a store before. You have. You just haven't been paid for it. She looked down. I don't want to mess it up. You won't. But you're not doing it alone either. I'm assigning a senior operations coach to shadow here for the next 4 weeks. They'll back you up with scheduling, hiring, and anything else you need. She nodded slowly. Okay. There's one more thing, Elijah added. I want you to be part of the hiring process moving forward. You know what this team needs better than anyone. Her hands tightened slightly. Can I ask for something? Anything. I want to bring back 2 people who left in the last few months. They were good workers. They just couldn't handle the pressure without support. Names? Luis and Mara. They left in January.
He pulled out his phone again.
I'll have HR reach out today. She stood. I should get started. You should. You've got a team to build. By early afternoon, the store felt different. The energy wasn't fixed, not yet, but it was shifting. Candace worked quietly but decisively, checking inventory, reviewing the schedule, and pulling Jules aside to ask about weekend availability. The crew still looked cautious when Elijah stepped behind the counter, but no one looked over their shoulder the way they had before. At 3, Elijah stepped outside to take a call. When he returned, Candace was speaking with a young man in a green apron who looked familiar. Elijah, she called. This is Luis. He stopped by to talk. Luis offered a tentative handshake. Didn't expect to be back here so soon. You're welcome back, Elijah said. As long as you're still up for it. Luis looked at Candace, then back at him. I am if she's still here. By close, Elijah was behind the register, helping Jules count the till. Candace was reviewing the new job postings with Dana, who had returned to wrap up paperwork. Before leaving, Elijah pulled Candace aside. You're doing the right things, he said, but the pressure's not over. This won't turn around in a week, and I don't expect it to. I'm not looking for fast, she said. I just want fair. You'll have it. As she locked the doors that night, Elijah noticed something. Her bag was missing. She wasn't staying. She was going home. The following week moved deliberately, each day measured, each problem handled one piece at a time. Nothing was fixed overnight, and Elijah never expected it to be. He showed up early every morning, rotating between observing the front line and helping Candace in the cramped back office, where the scheduling board hung like a jigsaw puzzle that never stayed solved. There were still call-outs, still missing inventory, still nights when the line stretched too long and customers grew impatient. But now, no one was facing it alone. Candace had taken to keeping a clipboard with her at all times. Not because she liked paperwork, but because she wanted to write down what wasn't working the moment it happened. On Thursday afternoon, she handed Elijah a page with 5 bullet points written in her tight, slanted handwriting. "We need more counter space for mobile orders," she said. "Lexi keeps losing cups when the line's busy." "I noticed," Elijah replied, scanning the list. "We'll get a second shelf installed." She tapped the second line. "Also, we're getting too many new hires who don't last a week. The job site filters aren't doing enough." "I'll talk to HR about reworking the screening questions," he said. "You'll help rewrite them." "You know what matters." Her eyes shifted to the register, where Jules was coaching a new trainee named Marcus through his first rush. Marcus fumbled a lid, but Jules caught it mid-air and kept her tone patient, steady. "He's nervous," Candace said. "First days usually are. He's still better than the last guy. He left mid-shift because someone asked him to sweep." Elijah folded the paper. "We'll keep refining." By Saturday, the energy had shifted again. It wasn't smooth, not yet, but it was more stable. Ryan had returned with a lighter schedule that fit between his school hours. Luis was training on clothes again and had even asked to take over inventory tracking. Jules kept stepping up without being asked. Elijah noticed they had started laughing more. Not loud or careless, but in small, earned moments. The kind that didn't happen in toxic places. That afternoon, Elijah brought in an operations consultant named Carla. She had run 2 high-performing stores on the East Coast and now worked as a fixer for struggling branches. Carla dressed plainly and didn't introduce herself as anything special. She took notes, kept quiet, and observed. After closing, she sat across from Elijah and Candace at the back table. "You've got a crew that wants to work," Carla said. "That's the part you can't teach. But they're burnt. You need to fix 3 things if you want to keep them." "Tell me," Elijah said. "First, your schedule's too rigid. Split shifts are killing morale. If someone pulls a double one day, they can't be expected to open the next. Rotate smarter." "I'll start drafting that tonight," Candace said. "Second," Carla continued, "you need a floater. Someone trained in every position who can plug holes when people call out. Doesn't need to be full-time, just reliable." "I'll call Mara," Candace said, not missing a beat. She used to do that before she left. "Perfect," Carla said. "Last thing you need, a culture reset. Not just better policies, but a reason for people to care again. That comes from the top." Elijah nodded. "We'll start with a crew meeting." The next morning, before the cafe opened, the entire team stood in the lobby, some in uniform, others still in jackets, clutching coffee cups and trying to look awake. No one had ever held a formal team meeting here, not even during the grand opening. Elijah stepped forward. "I owe all of you a direct apology," he began. "This place was built on the idea that every person matters. Somewhere along the way, we lost that. I let systems and numbers become more important than people. That stops now." No one interrupted. Even the new hires stood still. "I've seen what this team can do when they're supported. I've also seen what happens when they're ignored. That's on me. And I'm not here to give you a speech, so I can disappear. I'm here to stay connected." He paused, then looked at Candace. "This store is under new leadership. Candace Harper is now the official store manager." There was a beat of silence, followed by scattered claps that grew into real applause. Candace didn't smile, but her posture changed, straighter, grounded. Elijah waited for it to settle before continuing. "Starting this week, we're launching a new pilot program here. Fair scheduling, built-in recovery days, and on-call coverage support. If it works, we expand it across the company." Jules raised her hand. "Does that mean no more back-to-back doubles?" "Exactly," Elijah said. "We're building a model that values endurance, not just output." After the meeting, Candace pulled him aside near the espresso machine. "You didn't have to make it official," she said quietly. "Yes, I did," he replied. "Because you earned it when no one was watching." She adjusted her apron. "I'm not going to be perfect. Neither am I, he said. But we're not pretending anymore. Later that week, he received a call from Mara. She agreed to come back on a part-time basis as a floater. She'd already spoken to Candace and made it clear she trusted the new direction. By Friday, the cafe had its first fully staffed evening in almost 2 months. 3 baristas, 1 lead, and a backup scheduled on standby. Orders moved faster. No one was running on empty. Customers noticed. One even left a 5-star review that simply read, "This place feels alive again." Elijah stayed until close but left the final cleaning to the team. He stood outside by the curb as the lights dimmed and the door locked behind them. Candace stepped out last. "You heading straight home?" he asked. "I am." "You still at the hotel?"
"No," she said.
"Found a room share 10 minutes from here. It's nothing fancy, but it's mine." He nodded. "I'm glad." She shifted her bag onto her shoulder. "You really didn't see any of this coming?" "I saw numbers," he admitted. "Margins, reports, ratings. But I stopped seeing people." She looked up at the sign above the store Clover and Steam, still flickering slightly at the edge.
"Now you do," she said.
"I do." He watched her walk off into the night, coat pulled tight against the breeze, step steady. No one was sleeping in the back anymore. And no one ever would again.